the Triplicane Cultural Academy. I have great pleasure in welcoming Dr. Sumantran and all of you. I must thank Dr. Sumantran for having agreed to come and speak on such an important subject at a short notice. That speaks volumes for his interest in generating public opinion and disseminating knowledge on what's happening in the auto sector, about which I read every other day in many newspapers. I'm sure at the end of the talk, we'll go home clarify what has happened and what can be done. A few words on Triplicane Cultural Academy, whose reins I took over hardly 2 months ago. I'm happy that I got this invitation. I'm enjoying every minute of it. Without casting aspersions on my predecessors, I would like to see this academy play an important role in molding public opinion in the city on a wide range of issues. And so we began first, my tenure began with a talk on entitled, a conversation rather, with their Carnatic music, because I thought that was the most appropriate subject, December, January of any year, because we have so much of music in Chennai. And first, I took the liberty, or probably the audacious, in inviting T.M. Krishna to speak to us. Fortunately or unfortunately, he was away in China, and I think I saved myself a lot of praise and odium, because I think there are a lot of people who support his cause. At the same time, there are probably a larger number who do not. So that is the first. Then we had a galaxy of people, including the famous piano player, and then so many others. They came and spoke to us, Anil Srinivasan, and that went off very well. This is at PSA school. We want to have PSA school as the venue for all future programs, and that's where I went to school and a lot of others in Melapo. Since I wasn't available, I touched Dr. Chari, Mr. Chari, who is always come to my rescue in any crisis. I must thank Chari and his brother, who is here, for having allowed us to make use of this auditorium for this important occasion. Triplicane Cultural Academy has also a library, the known as Kasuri Srinivasan Library. We are an amorphous organization with a limited membership, and we are trying our best with available funds, which are not very generous. We are trying to organize some event or the other. So there was a criticism that although you bear the title Cultural Society, there is nothing cultural about it. Why don't you have some cultural programs? That's also receiving our attention. But the basic problem is we have a crunch for funds. And please don't mistake me if I make this occasion as an appeal for funds. But I thought I'll mention actually one of the honored invitees. He came and told me, why can't they activize it? And the library is in a poor shape, and it's not exactly in the best of places in Chennai. I said, we have a lot of ideas, but no money. That's what I told him. And we don't want to launch a fund drive or anything. Whoever is happy, in harmony with the objective of this academy, is welcome to contribute informally, because this is not an appeal for funds, but I thought I should place facts on record that we will do a lot better. There are so many organizations. I'm not saying that there is a positive organizations doing this kind of service in Chennai, especially in Melapo, but we would like to be the best of the organizations in Melapo, and I hope we will be able to succeed. We have lots of plans. For example, next, we think I had, thanks to Anand and Murali, we have a band of people who are ever willing to not only lend ideas but follow up. So we are already thinking of a meeting on the budget. We are waiting for the budget to be presented. We are impatient, but it can't be earlier than February 1st. Then Mrs. Nirmala Sitharaman is going to present the budget. We don't know what's going to happen, but that's a fertile subject on which a lot of people from different walks of life will be involved. Everyone will have an idea. I'm sorry for Mrs. Sitharaman, because there will be a flood of inputs going into the finance ministry saying, please do this, please don't do this, and all that. So we're going to have an exciting time, the first week of February. We already lined up a few speakers, and I'm sure that will be even a bigger occasion, probably in a larger auditorium. So I'm happy that you could all come. And of course, about Dr. Sumantran, I don't have to say, his CV speaks for itself. And Anand will perform that pleasant task of introducing Dr. Sumantran as to what he did in his past incarnation and how appropriate for us to have chosen him to speak here. So please listen to him, and he has fortunately agreed to have an interactive session also. So you can shoot your questions at him. And let us, at the end of the day, I would like Murali to sum up and come up with nuggets of wisdom as to how you can go forward. So thank you once more for having come here, and hand over the mic to Anand, and he will take care of it. Thank you.
I was about to start by saying lady and gentlemen, but I found one more lady walking in just now. So I'll have to say ladies and gentlemen, good evening to all of you. And I join our president in welcoming all of you to this very important discussion on a subject which has been agitating the minds of all of us for the last few months. In fact, before I do the introduction of the speaker, I want to let the cat out of the bag by telling you that I had a very brief conversation with Dr. Sumantran, and I told him that I will just take 1.5 minutes to set the context of the subject. And when I did toss the subject around to him about 10 days back, I actually said it has to be automotive industry, past, present and future. But Dr. Sumantran, in his own wisdom, deleted the word past for good reason, because I think he believes in the theory, bygones be bygones. Let us forget about the past. Look at what is the present state of affairs, and also link it to what could be the issues relating to the industry for the future. And in this context, I think two issues which are agitating the minds of a normal consumer like all of us is, we forget the role of the manufacturer. They have a host of other issues to deal with. But as a consumer, my behavioral pattern is changing every day. Today I need a car, tomorrow I need a two-wheeler, third day I may need a bicycle, fourth day I may not even need anything at all. So this consumer behavior and prediction becomes a very important factor now in even deciding the manufacturing agenda for various companies. So I am asking Dr. Sumantran a very simple question. It's not a Q&A session, it will happen later. Is how did we not forecast the consumer behavior relating to car purchases 4 or 5 years back? Secondly, this whole issue of BS4 versus BS6, I remember there was a lot of literature around this 3-4 years back itself, including the impending threat of electric vehicles. All these were discussed at length. So are we caught napping today because we did not plan properly is one issue which is agitating my mind, at least, if not others. The third issue is, in a history of 73 years since independence, we have seen ups and downs in many industries, and including the automotive industry. I remember in 98, 99, it was a crisis virtually. And no vehicle was selling, passenger car, commercial vehicles. We were completely in the doldrums, but we pulled out of it. So similarly, there are a lot of industry captains sitting here. They would recall so many other type of slowdown has happened in the past. Why is it that this slowdown is materially different from what has happened in the past? So these are some of the pointers which I thought I will leave on the table. But I am sure Dr. Sumantran will, in his own eloquent style, will cover these issues and many more also. To introduce him to this gathering, I know is a bit tough because all of you know his background and his achievements. But I just thought I'll quickly run through his resume. He is the chairman of Celeris Technologies and an advisor to several Fortune 100 organizations in automotive, industrial equipment, defense and aerospace. He is the co-author of the book Faster, Smarter, Greener, The Future of the Car and Urban Mobility. That book is on my table. I'll just show it at the end of the session. It's a very interesting publication. It was also released a few months back at the Chennai International Center, I distinctly remember. But I thought it's one of the treatises on the subject of mobility. Previously, 2006 to 2014, he was Executive Vice Chairman of Hinduja Automotive UK as well as Vice Chairman of Ashok Leyland. Prior to this, in 2001-2005, he was the Chief Executive Officer of Tata Motors, car business reporting to Ratan Tata. Prior to joining Tata, Dr. Sumantran had a 16-year career with General Motors R&D in Detroit and subsequently as a Director of Advanced Engineering at GM Europe. Dr. Sumantran serves as lead member in the consultative group of future transportation at the office of the Principal Scientific Advisor to the Government of India. He has served on the Science Advisory Council of Prime Minister of India and the Scientific Advisory Committee of the Cabinet of the Indian Government. He was also a member of the National Manufacturing Competitive Council. He was nominated as Distinguished Visiting Professor of the IIT Madras and serves as Adjunct Professor at MIT MISI. Dr. Sumantran possesses a doctorate degree in Aerospace Engineering, Princeton and Virginia Tech, and a master's degree in Management of Technology. He is a fellow of the Society of Automotive Engineers International and served as member of the board of directors of SAE International from 2003 to 2006. He is a fellow of the Indian National Academy of Engineers and is a recipient of the Distinguished Alumnus Award from IIT Madras. So with these few words, I have immense pleasure in introducing Dr. Sumantran to this audience, and he will now take over and make his presentation. Before that, we would request our president to honor our guest with a shawl and a memento.
Mr. Raghavan, my friend Anand Raghavan, Mr. Murali, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It's a great pleasure and honor for me to be here. I say this as someone who was born and grew up in Mylapore, actually not very far from here, what used to be Edward Elliot's Road. And to me, when I was called upon by Mr. Raghavan to come and address this academy, the Triplicane Cultural Academy, it was for me, no question at all. I was delighted to be here with all of you. There is so much of value we place in our memories of our heritage, and I'm greatly impressed to see the kind of activities taken by the Academy and the Kasturi Srinivasan Library. So I'm truly honored to be here. I was a little reluctant to speak about the subject for several reasons. Part of some of them Anand Raghavan already alluded to, but also because, well, I have so many friends like Venu, Lakshmi, Vishwanathan, who probably heard variations of this ragam so many times, and I feel rather reluctant to impose upon them yet another variation of the ragam. And indeed, we have stalwarts of the industry like Mr. Balaji, who I can say nothing to add to his knowledge of what's going on. But nevertheless, it is a subject that is engaging. It is a subject that I've been passionate about from practically when I was a child. And somehow, while there are so many industries that are critical to the Indian economy, if you just take a scan of the so-called business newspapers, Financial Times or Economic Times, or Business Line, there is a disproportionate allocation of column centimeters to the auto industry. And I attribute it to the fact that this is a bit of a unique industry. It's both a left brain and a right brain industry, and in that way it engages public attention. Looking at what's happening now and what we are likely to face going forward, the best analogy I can think of is in modern days, the YouTube has been such a wonderful medium. You get to see things that you never thought you would ever see. And when I, surf through YouTube, some of the topics that fascinate me are rather odd topics. One thing that really fascinates me is when you have this whole series of video clips of ships in storms. It's amazing, and when you see these huge merchant vessels navigating the North Atlantic gales, it's a tribute to both man and machine that they endure that kind of weather. Why do I talk about that? Well, actually, even 5, 7 years ago, as the auto industry was looking ahead to the future, one knew that we were going to encounter at least three monster waves. We were going to endure the imposition or the adoption of the BS6 norms, which was really going to be a wave, a disruption that would have very significant changes to the industry, to its supply chain, and to its consumer base. Uh, Very close on the heels of that wave, we were going to see another wave that was again going to be another monster wave, the wave of the migration to or the adoption of electrification in the industry. And finally, a third wave that was again yet another monster of different proportions that would change the way we would deal with mobility. So you can imagine the captains of the so-called auto industry probably felt very similar to the captain of that merchant navy cargo ship heading out to the North Atlantic, knowing that they were expecting these massive gales. And again, I have the utmost confidence as we have in those captains, the people on the ships, and the design and the structure of the ships to withstand this. I have every confidence that the leadership of the industry and indeed the mechanisms of the industry will adapt, will survive. They will be battered, but they will adapt and survive and navigate these troubled waters. The immediate downturn that we have faced, again, sometimes imposes upon us a sense of disproportionate grief or disproportionate worry. If we sit back and look at the larger picture, over the last 5 to 8 years, in fact, from 2013-14, the entire Indian auto industry has had reasonably encouraging growth. The two-wheelers have grown at 8%, cars have grown at 6% CAGR, trucks have grown at close to 9 or 10%. So we've had 4 or 5 years of good, robust growth. And nowhere in the world is this industry immune from cycles. And so we had to have some cooling off. And this particular cooling off has been deeper and more painful than normal slowdowns. But there have been a number of reasons for this. Of course, across the sectors, whether it is commercial vehicles or cars or two-wheelers, the role played by tightening of credit norms has been for real. Maybe it was necessary. If you go back a few years, almost everybody in the finance sector, the lending institutions, would have admitted that they were rather liberal. CIBIL scores were thrown out of the window. People were very liberal in providing loans. And so we were headed to some sort of a bubble which was not sustainable. And we've seen what happens when lending institutions get rather easy with credit. So some amount of that credit tightening was indeed probably timely. And rather unfortunately, it has had a rather deep effect in terms of demand. But beyond that, the demand slump has been very different for different sectors.